I am back once more with more E3 coverage, this time of the Sony E3 conference, the one I was most anticipating. Now, this conference was really exciting to me because I didn't get quite what I was expecting, and that's kind of PlayStation and Sony's fault, because they advertised this conference as being about just 4 games, yet we get the conference and it's a real conference with way more than just the 4 games. So here I am, sitting there expecting a Nintendo Direct-style conference with just clips of games and stuff like that, and we sort of got that, but not really. It was kind of a mess at the beginning, if I'm honest. They started out in this, it looked like a church or something like that. It looked like an abandoned church that no one had been in for like a decade, and they showed off The Last of Us. Now, Sony pulled the same music thing that Bethesda did with Rage 2, but they'll get a pass with this one because it's art. There's something about the way that Sony's been doing that in their conferences for the past few years that comes off as really pretentious to me, very obnoxious to me. And this time around, it's not like they were playing the music to the trailer. They had the guy come out there, play music for like 3 minutes and nothing else, and then the trailer comes on, which I can't stand. Now, this Last of Us trailer, it was a combination of a really long pre-rendered cutscene and then also real gameplay of a level. In this game, The Last of Us 2, you play as Ellie, who was just a kid in the first game, now she's relatively grown up. And outside of that, the characters that were shown in this trailer, all of them were brand new characters, no returning characters besides Ellie. And I have to say, man, I didn't like Ellie in the original game, I didn't like her in Left Behind, and I'm not liking her in this so far, from what I've seen. But she kind of pales in comparison to the other characters that were in the trailer, especially Ellie's girlfriend. She was very obnoxious to me, and it's like, I don't think Naughty Dog has made a new character in any of their games that I've liked since the original Last of Us. And I feel like I should clarify that my past experience of Naughty Dog games, I used to love Naughty Dog. Uncharted 2 and 3 are some of my favorite games of all time. I really enjoyed the original Last of Us, although I thought it was a little overrated. I personally enjoyed it. Then they came out with Uncharted 4, which just broke my heart. I didn't like that game at all, didn't like the direction they took it in. And that game took heavy influence from The Last of Us, where they kind of toned down the swashbuckling adventure, made it more of a character-driven drama. But even in that regard, I think they came up short in Uncharted 4. Sam Drake, Nathan's brother, massive retcon in the series. Marlo in Uncharted 3, I don't know why no one brings this up, but Marlo in Uncharted 3, her whole gimmick was that she knew everything about Nathan, everything about his past, his family, yet she somehow doesn't know about this mysterious brother. And then I found out recently that Amy Hennig's original script for Uncharted 4 had Sam Drake as the villain, and I'm sure that it still would have been a huge retcon, but that sounds a lot more interesting. And playing the final Uncharted 4, I did get that vibe from Sam. They kind of hinted at that in the game that, oh, maybe we can't trust Sam, but, ended up being a good character. I think that would have been a much more interesting route if he was the villain, but, that's completely unrelated to The Last of Us, I guess. But then the other new characters in that game, Rafe and Nadine, god, fucking terrible characters. Then they did Lost Legacy with the same character I just mentioned, Nadine, and then Chloe Frazer, a fan favorite from Uncharted 2, and I don't know, I didn't like that one either. I thought it was just more of the same stuff that I didn't enjoy about Uncharted 4. So ever since then, I've just kind of become disinterested in Naughty Dog and whatever they're doing that's new, but with The Last of Us 2, there's something about it that is just a step beyond what I didn't like about Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. Just looking at the trailer portion of this, it feels like Naughty Dog is really far up their own asses. And I mean, can you blame them to a degree? The Last of Us came out, everyone lauded it as the best game ever made, then Uncharted 4, stellar reviews once again, and Lost Legacy was a smaller game, but the reviews that it did get were good. And then in typical Naughty Dog fashion, they actually did show gameplay in a similar manner to the way they showed pretty much every game they've done since Uncharted 2. They played through a level, and it was done in a very scripted way, but that is a real level in the game, I assure you. So that gameplay, huh? I mean, it looks visually identical to Uncharted 4. I don't think it's much of an upgrade, if any upgrade at all. And the gameplay to me looks identical to The Last of Us 1. The only major new thing that I noticed that's different from the original game is that you can go prone. So yeah, this is totally whatever to me. I'm sure some people are ecstatic about this right now. Not me. I don't really care that much. I can't even be motivated to hate it or anything like that. It's just a feeling of indifference. I'm not impressed by it at all. It's just more of the same shit to me. I don't think they had a release date attached to the trailer either, which makes me even more disinterested, but I will play it when it comes out. I'll give it a chance. So then this is where the conference gets kind of weird, and not in terms of what they were revealing, but in terms of the presentation. They leave the church, I guess that was just for The Last of Us Part 2, and then they go to what looks like an E3 after-show desk with a few PlayStation dudes at it, Sean Layden and some other guys. So I'm watching these guys sit there, and I begin to realize that they're stalling, they're trying to waste time. They keep assuring us that the conference is going to begin soon, you know, it's going to be ready soon, guys, it's almost here, and I'm starting to think, wait a second, you motherfuckers booked this for 9 o'clock. It's not like you had that time thrust upon you. We've known about the time that this will be at for a while now, at least a week. So, like, they have no one to blame but themselves for that, and it's just what a strange way to start off your conference. And as part of their stalling, they made probably the strangest announcement I've ever heard of in my fucking life. So they had Black Ops 4. Let's take a look at Black Ops 4. And they go ahead and show off some maps that I think were from Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. Definitely Black Ops 1. There was one where it was like a firing range. I distinctly remember playing that in Black Ops 1. But anyway, they're like, get these maps now if you pre-order. But then here's the weird part. If you pre-order Black Ops 4, those maps are not for Black Ops 4. They're actually for Black Ops 3? And I'm just sitting there scratching my head like, what the fuck is going on? That must be a mistake. But then one of the guys sitting there live confirmed this. So who the fuck, what are they thinking wasting their goddamn time making maps for a 3-year-old Black Ops game that no one's even fucking playing anymore? Just utterly bizarre, and then they announced that Black Ops 3 will be free for PS Plus subscribers. Like, gee, I'm very thankful that you gave me this 3-year-old dead Call of Duty game. Thanks a lot, guys. And then at this point, the stream started stuttering, and bear in mind, I was watching this on the official Twitch channel for PlayStation. Then it got so bad with the stuttering that they shut the stream down, it went straight up offline. I've been watching these conferences get streamed for years now. I've seen streams hitch up a little bit, I've seen them go to glitch screens and stuff like that, testing screens. Never seen something go straight up offline like that, it was fucking crazy. And then the really odd thing is that I went on YouTube to see if it was any better there, and it was. There was no issue. I was able to continue watching it there. But because of these shenanigans, I wasn't able to see the Destiny 2 trailer that shows Cayde 6 getting killed by the Prince of the Awoken. The thing about this is that there were those audio files found in the PC version of the game at launch that contained references to Cayde dying. So I guess Bungie's back at it again, putting stuff on the disc, I guess. I don't know what that's about. It's very weird. Now, based on Bungie's own reveal event, it looks like this expansion is going to fix the game the same way that Taken King did back in the day, but again, this is the third time Destiny is supposed to be fixed, so they'll really have a hard time getting people that have been burned so many times back on. The suckers like me that play Destiny no matter what, we were gonna buy it anyway, but I guess we'll be a little more happy. Then the actual conference started in an entirely new room, and it started off with more artsy music stuff. It ended up being for Ghost of Tsushima, and then they started the trailer after the music was done, but the trailer also had very similar sounding music in it, so why did they not just have him play the music to the trailer instead of wasting our time and having everyone sit there confused? But I have to say, the game itself, I said that I wanted to be a little bit more open-minded about it, and I'm glad that I said that because the game's looking pretty nice. The visuals are fantastic, it looks really, really nice, and it's a historical game, so I'm into that. This is kind of like the Japanese Assassin's Creed that everyone always asked for, but it's probably going to be better than that ever would have been. I only have two concerns with this game. The first one is the gameplay. It looks like, well, I'm really not sure what it looks like. There's either no HUD in this game, or more likely it was intentionally hidden for this trailer, which makes it kind of hard to judge the gameplay. But it looks like that style of game like The Witcher 3 or the recent God of War remake, and in my opinion, that type of combat is hard to make good. The second issue is that I don't like the voice acting for the Japanese characters. They speak English, but the Mongols don't, and I really don't like that. I would prefer a more authentic experience where everyone is just speaking their own language and we get subtitles. And the quality of that English voice acting itself, I thought was quite bad. But those two issues aside, I think this game's looking pretty decent, a lot better than I thought it would be, and I'm somewhat excited to play it. Unfortunately, I think this is yet another game that had no release date or release window attached to it, so Sony should make sure that they don't release this game anywhere near the new From Software game. Yes, they're two very different games, this one being cinematic and historical, and From Software's being more gameplay-based, more arcadey, and mythological. But I think it's inevitable that these games, if they came out near each other, they would compete, because people's impression would be that these are two similar games about samurai characters. So here's where Sony really confused the fuck out of me with their format. They made it sound like, again, they would only have 4 games, yet here we are getting announcements for brand new games that are not those 4 games. The first game was called Control, and when the trailer was playing for it, I took notes and I wrote down Quantum Break clone game. Well, it turns out that Remedy is working on this game, the same people who made Quantum Break. And it turns out it's not a PlayStation exclusive game, it's a multi-plat, it's on Xbox, PS4, and PC. So there could be a few things that happen here. Either Quantum Break sold badly and Microsoft wasn't down to do another one with them, or they just wanted a clean slate. I don't know, it's kind of weird. But I'm definitely down for it. I really enjoyed Quantum Break. It was a pretty cool game, very underrated in my opinion. Next up was a Resident Evil 2 remake. It looks to be in the same way that they remade the first game, so that's kind of cool. I didn't expect that. Then there was a game from the creators of Rick and Morty, Trover Saves the Universe. I don't think they had to go out of their way to say it was from the creators of Rick and Morty, because the two characters they showed in this obnoxious as fuck trailer, they were literally the Rick and Morty voices. So either this guy can only do two voices, or he knows that if he does those voices, it'll get people interested in the game, but if that's what you wanted to accomplish, why not just make a Rick and Morty game? They already did that with the VR one, so I don't fucking know. I also don't care. Then they had more Kingdom Hearts. So Kingdom Hearts is officially the Skyrim of this year's E3. It's now been in 3 separate conferences, which is how many conferences Skyrim was in last year. But after sitting through that, we finally got to the good part, Death Stranding. This trailer had an entirely different feel from what's come before. It featured beautiful shots of mountains and wilderness and had a much more personal focus on Sam. The trailer introduced 2 new characters, both women, seemingly as a complement to the 2 existing male characters. The first woman talks to Sam and seems to have the same ESP abilities as him. We also got our first look at real gameplay, and it was just walking. More specifically, delivering things. Which is what the woman says is Sam's job as a porter. There was a brief shot of a transforming futuristic gun and a sequence that teased how the arm can be used to evade the interdimensional beings, but it really was just Sam walking around delivering packages. I loved it because I blindly love this game, but I totally understand why some might think this game is bullshit based on what was shown. I was expecting more too, but after a few viewings of the trailer, I think it's safe to say that all those walking bits are the opening hour of the game. A prologue of sorts that establishes Sam's character before he gets thrust into the events shown in the previous VGA trailer. It's not like we didn't learn anything new though. First off, this game is unbelievably good looking. Some of the best I've ever seen, especially if you look at the full resolution 4K trailer on the PlayStation YouTube channel. And I love that Kojima didn't pull the trick that God of War did and give us a vomit-inducing shoulder camera. The gameplay bits showed a nice, wide field of view, way wider than I would ever expect from a console game. And the performances? It looks like this game will feature some of the best, if not the best performances ever seen in a game thus far, which makes sense considering the growing cast of top-tier actors. Proving my prediction entirely wrong for once, the trailer had no release date, not even a window, not even a year, not even a century. Is it a PlayStation 5 game now? I don't think so, they're too deep in. Maybe it's 2019. At this point, I have no idea and won't even attempt to guess, but I don't think it's a PS5 game. Any shortcomings and unfulfilled expectations aside, the game is playable, it's real, and I think Kojima is intentionally continuing to hide a lot of the game from us. Next up was a reveal of Nioh 2 already? What the fuck? I didn't play the first one, so I have no thoughts on this really, but this is yet another game that will inevitably mess with both Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. Finally, we ended with a mission from the upcoming Spider-Man game, which was It was really, really scripted and featured a shit ton of Spider-Man villains. Rhino, Vulture, Electro, Scorpion. I didn't really like what I saw, and since the game is coming out in 3 months, this is very much what the game is going to be, so I guess I'll have to wait and see. I'll definitely play it, Marvel shill that I am. So that's it. Sony had a conference that genuinely surprised me, in some bad ways and in some good ways, but I hope they clean up this mess of a format for next year. In terms of announcements and what was shown, this is the conference that appealed to me the most by far, and I also give them a lot of credit for showing long, extended gameplay. Microsoft had gameplay too, but it was small bits and pieces that were thrown into cinematic trailers. I think Sony edged out Microsoft here in terms of what was actually shown, but Microsoft by far beat them with the announcements. Let me know what you thought of the conference and how it compared to the others down below, and until next time, thanks for watching.